Define scope. This is a process of developing a detailed description of the project and the product. A key output here I do want to point out is the project scope statement, which will be the first component of our scope baseline as we move forward. Some of the tools and techniques we'll be using could include product analysis, and this is only going to be for projects where the deliverable is in fact a product, so it's something that we're going to be able to handle. The way I like to explain this is if we think about a new smartphone or some type of personal electronic device, the specific requirements that we're given by our stakeholders are not necessarily going to be implementable until we do some type of further analysis. If, for example, they say, I want a 9.7-inch touchscreen device with a battery life of 12 hours. Okay, cool stuff, but how are we going to ensure that we are in fact doing that? And we also want to go ahead and look at the value engineering and value analysis. A lot of customers may not know how they derive value from the ways that they may be using these products. So, in some situations, we may be able to add further value while doing less work. In other situations, we might have to go ahead and find new ways to deliver value. The project scope statement. This is going to be one of the key outputs coming out of this process. I do want to go ahead and differentiate between the product scope versus the project scope. So if we were talking again about a personal electronic device, let's go ahead and just say it's going to be a tablet. We have certain requirements that our customers will give us. And these might include front and rear facing cameras, LED illuminators, intuitive touchscreen, buttons, switches, speakers, processors, batteries, perhaps some aspects of the casing. Now, that would be the product scope. And when we're actually building our deliverable, we want to make sure that the product scope is being measured up against the requirements that we were given earlier. Now, from here, we're going to also look at all of the work that goes into how we are going to make these deliverables, and that will be the project scope. So how are we going to bring on those engineers, those developers, the people involved in the design and the execution of all of this work? The project scope is everything end to end, while the product scope is specifically deliverable oriented. The project scope statement may also contain specific exclusion to achieve some type of common understanding or acceptance criteria. So I like to use the example here. If you've ever ordered a larger electronic device, I had ordered a TV a couple years back, is a larger 65-inch model, and they had an option for it was some type of like enhanced delivery service where basically they would bring it into your house, unbox it, set it up, move the old TV, make sure the remotes are programmed, everything, soup to nuts, the whole 9 yards. Now, if you declined that enhanced service, they don't want to do anything for you. They will still deliver it to you, but they make it very clear, and you actually have to go ahead and acknowledge what the exclusions are. They tell you very specifically, we will deliver it to your house. We will place it upright inside the first threshold, so inside your front door, and that's it. Then they have the list of specific exclusions. We will not unbox it. We will not take the box. We will not take the trash. We will not move your old TV. We will not set up your new TV. And you have to acknowledge all of these. And it's for very obvious reasons. If you're not willing to pay for that additional service, they want to make sure you understand what you will and what you will not be getting as part of that delivery. With our project documents updates, as we are uncovering further assumptions or getting more information about the existing ones, stakeholder register. We do need to reevaluate which stakeholders will be impacted by the project based upon which requirements are being determined to be in or out of scope. The requirements documentation and traceability matrix. Now that we know which requirements are being included in the scope, we can go ahead and update this documentation accordingly. We just finished discussing the defined scope process. Quick learning assessment. Describe in your own words the purpose of this process. The purpose, we're trying to define in detail what the deliverable will be and all of the work that we need to do in order to create it. What level of detail should be reflected in the scope statement? The scope statement should be as detailed as possible. What is the difference between project scope and product scope? Project scope tells you all of the work that must be done in order to create this deliverable, while the product scope really looks more specifically about the characteristics of the product that's being created. How will the scope statement assist you in managing the project? The scope statement will keep you on track by defining what is in and what is out as far as project work goes. How does a scope statement differ from the charter? The scope statement differs from the charter in that it is much more detailed and reflects the requirements that have been gathered.